Now, one of the first things that we can talk about is how to separate your audio from the video to see it independently. And we're working out of the Focal Easy Guide to Final Cut Pro X. And that talks about how you can double click the audio to separate it, but you can't if you're in this view. So make sure that you go down to the different timeline views and pick one that has audio visibly displayed in the timeline. You can see there's also this audio track line that we can adjust the levels here of audio. But anyway, if you double click that, then you can separate the audio that way, and double click it again to reattach them. But you have to be in this particular view for that to work. At the same time, you can go up to Clip and choose Detach Audio and do it that way, and now audio becomes an independent thing from the video, which is great and is really important, which is the way that most editors do it by default. So the fact that Final Cut X puts them together is a little bit weird, has some benefits of simplifying your timeline, and if you don't want them to get out of sync, or you don't want them separate, then that could save you a little time. But it's kind of scary for beginning editors, because I'm sorry, for editors who are used to other applications, because it's like, where's my audio? I've no idea where it is or how to adjust it. Now, as I alluded to a moment ago, you can adjust the levels for the entire segment just by mousing over this level line, and you can see dragging it up to 12, dragging it down to infinite 0, which means no audio whatsoever. And then you can hear that difference. Get back. Ooh, that's really loud, and then we can bring it down a little bit and get a sense for the change in our audio there. So that's nice. Another thing that we often like to do with audio is to fade it out at the end. If you don't fade your audio out at the end, it can just kind of clip off, just like suddenly gone. There's a lot of background noise with audio, so even if the person stopped talking, we can hear that sound play and then just suddenly stop, and that's just kind of lame. So it's nice to be able to fade that out, and you can do that. I'll zoom in here a little bit, and then also maybe do a little max zooming here. You can do that by grabbing that little teardrop shape, or sort of pin shape, and dragging that out. And you can see this line now represents your volume level going from full and fading down to 0, so that as we play this, audio fades down. And the nice thing is you can then change the duration of that if you want it to be a quick fade down, or a very long slow fade, depending on what you need to do for that particular edit. It's a very visual way to do it. It's nice that it's right there and quick and easy to change, and you don't have to go and apply an effect or anything like you could in other editors, and you could if you wanted to, but this just makes it real quick and easy to quick fade out audio and also change those levels over the whole clip. Now, a lot of times in audio, we want to reduce just a certain range of audio. We don't want the audio for the entire clip to be at the same length. For example, if this was music and we wanted audio to fade music to fade down when somebody was speaking and not come back up, that's a really common thing to need to do. And Final Cut makes that fairly easy for you. You could go in and choose the range selection if you want to go that route. Select the area that, let's do it for our audio here. Select the area that we want to modify. And then when you go in and grab that track, you can see it. Let me zoom in a little bit and max zoom in a little. You can see it modifies just that region. It automatically adds what we call keyframes here, which keyframes are a way of indicating where we want things to change in all sorts of different parameters. But in this case, the audio stays full here, and then between this keyframe and this keyframe it goes down, and then we want it to stay the same, and then it goes back up. And so you can just continue to go and grab, oops, we grabbed the whole thing. Let's grab just that one there. Make sure just that line is highlighted. You see that? And so we can easily, if we wanted to raise that audio in that section or lower it, we can do that. And we can also mouse over these keyframes and click and drag them independently, so that if we wanted to extend this fade or change the timing of this slightly, it's very easy to tweak those elements in the timeline. We can go over here and grab that one, drag that out so that it fades a little bit. And we can also do them, independently. If I wanted this to fade up quickly loud and then slowly fade down, I don't know, maybe this is like an explosion or something. We want it to go boom and then slowly fade down and then come back up. Either way, you can adjust keyframes that way. And you can also right click on any keyframe to delete it, and that could be handy if you're like, this is not what I want to do anymore. You can remove these keyframes and kind of start over if you're so inclined, like so, and then you're back to where you were before. You can also manually add keyframes if you want by holding down the Option key, and you can see when I hold down Option, zoom in a little bit more here, you get that looks like a square plus. That allows you to add keyframes manually. If you really wanted to tweak something like crazy, you could add a whole bunch of keyframes in one area. To really get specific, or to have things change a lot or more in a more in a more specific way over a particular period of time, rather than just basically fading it down for one spot. You can get a lot more creative if you use more keyframes. Now, another thing we can do is to do what the text refers to as adding audio mixes, which is a little bit of a confusing term for those of us who've been working in video for a while. But what they're really talking about is mixing audio from two different clips at the same time. So we can grab a clip here, and I'm going to just take up a portion of this clip. Oops. It's already been marked, so we'll click, mark it in and out, bring it down into the timeline this way, and then I'm going to double click to separate it. And so what I could do is go and grab the audio and trim it out in that manner. And we'll do a little max zooming in here too. And so now what I have is the audio from the incoming clip overlapping the audio from the outgoing clip. And we could have the two fade between each other, so that as this audio fades down, this audio fades up, and we can see that. Goodbye, Michigan. See, it's kind of a smooth, nice transition, especially since the audio from the two are both from similar cameras, from the same camera, so they're getting about the same background audio, so it's pretty clear. But you see, if we don't have that nice audio fade between, you get a very clear, popping, just a very obvious and kind of awkward jump between the two. And so good way to get rid of that, overlap that audio. You could do it both ways if you have the media to do it. Meaning, if this clip has, see, as I said, we don't have any more video this way. This is the very end of the clip, so I can't take this out any longer. But I can still fade that audio in, fade that audio out, and create a nice audio crossfade to ease that transition. So editing audio nicely can take a lot of the kind of bumps and awkward moments in your video and smooth them out and make it much more pleasant for the audience to watch. Because especially if you have things you're trying to hide from the audience, maybe you had to edit out a little audio or you're cutting out part of a clip, if you can smooth out the audio, that will conceal those things much better than if you just let things cut. And especially letting video and audio cut at the same time all the time just gets kind of tedious and doesn't look good. And we can talk about more fancy audio techniques later, but this is the basic fundamentals of audio editing. You can change levels, you can fade audio, you can blend audio together or crossfade audio, and it's all fairly simple and you don't have to go outside of the timeline to do it. All right, thanks.